I was a software developer at one of the most prestigious tech companies in the country. For 3 years, Jessica had been my team leader and someone I considered a close friend. We shared lunches, personal stories, and I trusted her with everything. When a major project opportunity that could change my entire career trajectory came up, I never imagined the person I trusted most would be the one to destroy it all. Before I tell you how my so-called friend stabbed me in the back, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and hit that like button if you have ever trusted someone who did not deserve it. 8 years at the same tech company had shaped my identity. At 34, I, Philip Mitchell, had built a reputation as a reliable, innovative software developer who always delivered results. Our workplace culture was a curious blend of collaboration and competition. The management encouraged teamwork, but everyone knew that individual recognition was the fast track to promotion. Still, I believed in giving my best and supporting my colleagues, assuming they would do the same for me. Jessica Graham had been my team leader for 3 years. From day one, she positioned herself as my mentor. She was 39, confident, and had a way of making everyone feel valued. Your work on the database optimization was brilliant, Philip, she would say in team meetings, making sure others heard her praise. We developed what I thought was a genuine friendship. Twice a week, we would grab lunch together at the Thai place across the street. Every Friday, we joined a few colleagues for happy hour drinks, where Jessica would often linger afterward to discuss my career aspirations. You have so much potential, she would say, swirling her wine glass. I see big things in your future here. Daniel Wright, our department director, was a stern but fair leader who valued two things above all: innovation and loyalty. He rarely socialized with the team, maintaining a professional distance that made his rare compliments all the more valuable. Marcus Thompson worked at the desk across from mine, quiet, observant, and brilliant at troubleshooting. We were friendly, but he kept to himself, often wearing headphones and rarely joining social gatherings. Taylor Adams was a recent hire, ambitious, and perhaps too interested in office politics for someone who had only been with us for 3 months. She always seemed to be wherever important conversations were happening, her presence sometimes making me uneasy, though I could never pinpoint why. Everything changed when the company announced a special innovation project. The email from upper management described it as a once-in-a-career opportunity to revolutionize our product line and significantly advance within the company. The team member whose proposal was selected would lead a specialized task force with a substantial budget and report directly to the executive team. Success would mean not just a promotion, but a complete career transformation. My heart raced reading the announcement. This was exactly what I had been working toward all these years. I had ideas, good ones, that had been percolating in my mind for months about how we could integrate artificial intelligence with our current software to create a more intuitive user experience. That evening, as I packed up to leave, Jessica stopped by my desk. "You are going to submit a proposal, right?" she asked, leaning against my cubicle wall. "Definitely. I have some ideas that might work." "Great. Let me help you prepare. I know what Daniel looks for in these proposals." Over the next 2 weeks, Jessica and I spent numerous evenings after work brainstorming. I shared my AI integration concept, explaining the technical specifications and potential market impact. "This is brilliant," Jessica exclaimed, her eyes wide with what I interpreted as genuine enthusiasm. "The executive team will love this. Let me give you some pointers on how to present it most effectively." Our friendship seemed to deepen during this time. We shared personal stories as we worked late. Her divorce 3 years ago, my struggle with losing my father last year to cancer. I felt a true connection, a rare thing in our competitive industry. I worked tirelessly on my proposal, often staying until midnight to perfect every detail. Jessica regularly checked in, offering feedback that seemed constructive and supportive. "Change this section to emphasize scalability," or "the executives respond well to concrete ROI projections." Looking back, there were subtle signs that something was off. 2 weeks before the submission deadline, Jessica began taking more phone calls in the stairwell rather than at her desk. 3 times I saw her in deep conversation with Daniel in the glass-walled conference room, both of them looking serious. When I asked her about it later, she waved it off. "Just boring administrative stuff. Nothing exciting." One evening, as I was explaining a particularly complex aspect of my AI integration proposal, Taylor walked by and lingered nearby, seemingly absorbed in selecting a snack from the vending machine for an unusually long time. Jessica quickly changed the subject to weekend plans until Taylor finally left. "Just being careful," Jessica explained with a wink. "You never know who might be fishing for ideas around here." I appreciated what I thought was her protection of my work, never suspecting she might have other motives. The night before the submission deadline, Jessica sent me an email. "Final review complete. Your proposal is exceptional, Philip. I am proud to be your team leader and friend. This could be your moment." Those words filled me with confidence and gratitude. I had no idea they would soon become the most bitter memory of my professional life. The submission day arrived with an atmosphere of tension throughout the office. Everyone knew what was at stake. As I walked to the conference room to deliver my printed proposal and present the digital version to the selection committee, Jessica gave me a thumbs up from her desk. "Knock them dead," she mouthed silently. The presentation went well. Daniel and the two executive vice presidents asked tough but fair questions, and I felt I had solid answers for each one. When I finished, Daniel nodded. Not a smile, but a nod from him was high praise. "Well prepared, Philip. We will review all submissions and announce our decision next week." But next week came and went with no announcement. Then another week passed. The tension in the office became unbearable as everyone speculated about the delay. Had they found all proposals lacking? Was there an internal disagreement among executives? Had the project been canceled altogether? I noticed Jessica becoming increasingly distant. Our lunch routine suddenly stopped with various excuses, back-to-back meetings or deadline for quarterly reports. When I suggested Friday drinks, she claimed she had promised to help her sister move that weekend and needed to prepare. Our conversations, once flowing and comfortable, became brief and strictly work-related. 3 weeks after the presentations, I overheard a fragment of conversation between Jessica and Daniel near the break room. I had stepped around the corner to refill my coffee when their voices carried down the hallway. "The approach is innovative, but are you sure about the implementation timeline?" Daniel asked. "I have been working through the details," Jessica replied. "The framework is solid. I can demonstrate the proof of concept by next month." Their words seemed innocent enough, but something in Jessica's tone, a confidence, a familiarity when discussing what sounded like a major project, sent a chill through me. Later that day, I casually asked her about the conversation. "Oh, that," she said, "not quite meeting my eyes. Just discussing departmental goals for next quarter. Nothing interesting." Her explanation made sense, but her body language told a different story. She shuffled papers on her desk, changed the subject, and found a reason to end our conversation quickly. For the first time, I felt uneasy about our friendship, but I pushed the feeling aside. "You are being paranoid," I told myself. The following Monday, I arrived early to prepare for a client meeting. As I logged into my computer, a notification from the security system appeared. "Last access to project files Friday, 8:43 p.m. I frowned, knowing I had left at 6 that evening. Curious, I contacted IT security. "Yes, the logs show your project folder was accessed Friday evening," the security specialist confirmed, "using Miss Graham's credentials. She has appropriate clearance level as your team leader, so no security flags were raised." Why would Jessica access my files after hours? I told myself there must be a reasonable explanation. Perhaps she was doing a security audit or needed reference material for another project. Still, the uneasiness grew. That afternoon, I decided to address it directly. "Hey, Jessica, it mentioned you accessed some of my project files Friday night. Was there something you needed?" Her response came too quickly. "Oh, Daniel asked me to review some of our team's past work for resource allocation purposes. Nothing to worry about." It sounded plausible, yet her eyes darted away as she spoke. The seed of doubt that had been planted began to grow. 2 days later, the truth revealed itself in the cruelest way. An email notification popped up on my screen. I had been accidentally included in an email thread where I was also the subject of discussion. Daniel had written to Jessica, "Your proposal for the AI integration project is remarkably comprehensive. The executive team is particularly impressed with the implementation framework you have developed." Below it was a thread of previous exchanges, including Jessica sending what was unmistakably my work, my ideas, my frameworks, even my specific technical solutions, all presented as her own. The only differences were superficial changes to wording and presentation format. My hands shook as I scrolled through the emails. This was not a misunderstanding. This was methodical theft of my intellectual property. Even worse, I discovered emails where Jessica had been subtly undermining me to management for months. Philip has good technical skills, but I am concerned about his leadership readiness. While Philip contributed to the database project, the successful elements were guided by my framework. I have been mentoring Philip, but his strategic thinking needs significant development, all while smiling to my face, praising my work, and pretending to be my champion. The betrayal cut deep, not just professionally, but personally. This was someone I had trusted with my career aspirations, someone who knew about my father's death and how it had affected me, someone who had looked me in the eye and called me friend while systematically stealing my future. I printed the emails and walked straight to Jessica's office, closing the door behind me. I saw the emails, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the storm inside me. You stole my proposal. Her expression shifted from confusion to surprise then, to a calculated calmness that suggested she was quickly formulating a strategy. Philip, you are misinterpreting things, she said, leaning back in her chair. I submitted my own proposal that had some overlapping elements with yours. Great minds think alike, right? I placed the printed emails on her desk. These are not overlapping elements. This is my work word for word in some sections. Her facade cracked slightly as she glanced at the evidence. Then, rather than further denying it, her demeanor changed entirely. The warm mentor vanished, replaced by someone cold and calculating. Look, Philip, she said, lowering her voice. This is how it works in this industry. Did you really think friendship matters in this business? It is about survival. I have been here longer, I have more connections, and I need this promotion more than you do. More than I do, I repeated, stunned by her justification. Yes. You are young, single, with plenty of opportunities ahead. I am approaching 40 in an industry that values youth. This project is my last best chance at securing my position. Her admission struck me speechless. The person sitting before me was a stranger wearing the face of someone I thought I knew. That afternoon, the long-awaited announcement came via company-wide email. Jessica Graham would lead the Special Innovation Project, effective immediately. My proposal, my ideas, had won, but I had lost everything. The following weeks were the darkest of my professional life. Walking into the office each morning became an exercise in humiliation. Jessica now occupied a new office with glass walls, visibly directing what should have been my project. My colleagues, sensing something had transpired but unaware of the details, gave me sympathetic glances that only deepened my shame. Sleep became a luxury I rarely enjoyed. Night after night, I replayed every conversation looking for signs I had missed. How could I have been so blind? The betrayal infected other areas of my life. When a friend from outside work canceled dinner plans twice in a row, my first thought was, what are they really hiding? Trust, once given freely, had become a scarce resource. I guarded jealously. I considered resigning. Each morning I drafted a resignation letter, only to delete it before sending. Leaving would mean Jessica had won completely. Staying meant facing daily reminders of my naivety. Neither option offered peace. My productivity suffered as I withdrew from team interactions. Meetings that once energized me now felt like exercises in watching for hidden agendas. I contributed the minimum necessary, nothing more. Why offer ideas that might be stolen again? 3 weeks into this professional purgatory, something unexpected happened. Marcus, my quiet colleague who rarely initiated conversation, asked if I wanted to grab coffee after work. Not at the usual place he specified. There is a spot 2 blocks down that has better brew. Curious about this out-of-character invitation, I agreed. At the coffee shop, Marcus chose a table in the back corner away from other customers. After some small talk about a coding issue, he leaned forward. I know what Jessica did, he said quietly, and you are not the first. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. What do you mean? 2 years ago, before you joined our team, she did something similar to Alan Rodriguez. Remember him? Left suddenly for a better opportunity that no one could verify. He had developed a predictive analytics model that Jessica presented as her own after he was gone. How do you know this? I asked. I notice things. People think because I wear headphones and keep to myself that I am not paying attention. Truth is, I see more than most. He pulled out his phone. But this time I have more than observations. Marcus showed me a recording from a meeting held the previous day, Jessica presenting her AI integration approach to the executive team. I watched my anger rising as she confidently explained my ideas as if they had originated in her mind. I recorded it because I saw what happened with Alan, then watched it happening to you. I was too afraid to speak up for him, but I am not making that mistake twice. This revelation transformed something within me. The anger that had been burning me from inside shifted into determination. I was no longer just a victim. I had potential agency in this situation. The question was how to use it. That night, I faced my ethical dilemma. I could expose Jessica publicly, potentially creating a messy situation that might damage my professional reputation regardless of who was right. Whistleblowers rarely emerged unscathed, even when justified. Or I could find another approach, one that would reclaim my work without reducing me to seeking revenge. I chose the latter path. This would not be about bringing Jessica down. It would be about standing up for myself and my work. The distinction was crucial for what would follow. Over the next week, I meticulously documented everything. I recovered original drafts of my proposal with timestamps. I compiled emails showing Jessica's feedback on my ideas, proving her knowledge of my work. I created a comprehensive timeline showing the development of the AI integration concept through my documented work history. Most importantly, I had Marcus's recording showing Jessica using specific technical terminology and frameworks that I had created and that appeared nowhere in her work prior to my sharing them with her. When my documentation was complete, I requested a private meeting with Daniel. His assistant seemed surprised, but scheduled me for the following morning. I spent that night rehearsing what I would say, focusing on facts rather than emotions. Daniel's office was minimalist, reflecting his no-nonsense approach. He gestured to the chair across from his desk without a greeting. "This is unusual, Philip. What could not be addressed in a regular team meeting?" I placed my folder on his desk. "I believe there has been a serious breach of professional ethics that affects the innovation project. I would not bring this to you without substantial evidence." Daniel's expression remained neutral as he opened the folder. "These are serious allegations." "Yes, sir. And they are substantiated by every document in that folder." He spent 20 minutes reviewing the materials, his face betraying no emotion until he reached the section containing the original timestamps of my work compared with Jessica's submission dates. His eyebrows rose slightly, the Daniel equivalent of extreme surprise. "And you have verification of these timestamps?" he asked. "IT security can confirm them. The server logs are unalterable." When he finished reviewing the evidence, including listening to Marcus's recording, Daniel closed the folder and stared at me for an uncomfortable moment. "Why bring this to me privately? Many people would have made this public, created a scene. Because this is about my work, not about revenge. I believe in this company and our projects. Publicly exposing this would damage team morale and potentially the project itself." Daniel nodded, the first sign of approval I had seen. "I will need to investigate this thoroughly. Say nothing of this meeting to anyone." For the next 3 days, nothing happened. Jessica continued leading the innovation project. I wondered if my evidence had been dismissed, or if Daniel was simply protecting a favorite employee. Then came the weekly innovation project update meeting, where the entire department gathered to hear progress reports. Jessica stood at the front of the conference room, presenting slides showing the development of her AI integration system. I sat silently watching her confidently describe my work until Daniel suddenly stood up. "Jessica, could you explain the mathematical foundation for this predictive algorithm?" he asked. She blinked, momentarily thrown off. "Of course. It uses a proprietary approach to machine learning that analyzes historical data patterns." "Yes, but specifically what method does it use to weight recent versus historical data points?" Jessica's confident smile faltered. These were details I had worked out meticulously in my original proposal. Details she had apparently not bothered to fully understand. "It uses a progressive weighting system based on relevance," she said vaguely. Daniel pressed further. "And the decay function for older data points, is it logarithmic or exponential?" The room grew uncomfortably quiet as Jessica struggled to answer questions about what was supposed to be her own work. I could see realization dawning on the faces of my colleagues. Perhaps Philip could assist with these technical details, Daniel suggested, turning to me. All eyes in the room shifted my direction. This was the moment, my opportunity to expose the fraud publicly. Jessica stared at me, her expression a mix of defiance and the first traces of fear. I stood up and walked to the front of the room, bringing my laptop. The system uses a modified exponential decay function for historical data points with this specific formula. I displayed the mathematical equation I had developed. I can demonstrate how it works in real time, if that would be helpful. For the next 15 minutes, I explained the technical foundations of the system, my system, with the confidence that comes from true authorship. As I spoke, Jessica's face transitioned from defiance to resignation as she realized what was happening. When I finished, Daniel stood again. "Thank you, Philip. This meeting is adjourned. Jessica and I need to have a conversation in my office immediately. Philip, please wait outside." As everyone filed out of the room, whispered conversations erupted. Marcus gave me a subtle nod as he passed. Through the glass walls, I could see Daniel speaking intensely to Jessica, who had gone pale. 30 minutes later, she exited his office without looking at me and went directly to her desk, gathered her personal items, and left the building. Daniel called me in. "Jessica has been placed on administrative leave, pending a full investigation," he said, without preamble. "Based on preliminary findings, I believe your claims will be substantiated." The immediate aftermath was a strange mix of emotions. There was vindication, certainly, but also a profound sadness. I had lost not just a mentor, but someone I had genuinely considered a friend. The web of lies had been exposed, but the damage to my ability to trust remained. 3 days later, Daniel called me into his office again. "The investigation is complete," he said. "I owe you an apology on behalf of the company. We failed to properly vet the submissions and allowed your intellectual property to be misappropriated. The company issued a formal acknowledgement of my contributions, and I was named the new lead for the innovation project with increased resources and a dedicated team." The official announcement mentioned a correction in project leadership, following an internal review carefully worded to minimize corporate embarrassment while rectifying the situation. When I took over Jessica's glass-walled office, I found notes on my work in her handwriting, evidence of how long she had been planning the theft. The discovery reopened wounds I thought had begun healing. My new role should have been a triumph, but I approached it with caution bordering on paranoia. I limited what I shared with team members, documented every conversation, and kept innovations to myself until absolutely necessary to reveal them. This was not the collaborative leader I had aspired to be, but fear had reshaped my professional instincts. Marcus became an unexpected ally during this time. "You cannot let her change who you are," he said during one late work session. "That gives her power she does not deserve." His words resonated, though implementing them proved difficult. I began with small steps, sharing minor ideas in team meetings, then gradually revealing more significant innovations while maintaining proper documentation. Taylor, the ambitious new hire, approached me after a meeting. "I admired how you handled that situation with Jessica," she said. "It could not have been easy to be professional when she was anything but." "It was not about getting even," I replied. "It was about standing up for my work." "That distinction is exactly why people respect you now," she said before walking away. Her observation made me realize something important. My handling of the betrayal had earned me a different kind of reputation than Jessica had sought through deception. People trusted me not because I demanded it, but because I had demonstrated integrity under pressure. 6 months passed. The AI integration project exceeded expectations, delivering results that caught the attention of industry publications. The executive team approved an expansion of the initiative, along with my promotion to Senior Development Director, the position Jessica had coveted. During this time, I established new boundaries in my professional relationships. I remained friendly and supportive of my team, but no longer confused workplace proximity with genuine friendship. I verified work contributions meticulously but openly, creating a culture where proper attribution was standard practice rather than an afterthought. Jessica never returned from administrative leave. I heard through industry connections that she had taken a position at a smaller competitor where rumors of similar behavior had already begun to circulate. Her pattern continued because her fundamental belief remained unchanged that success justified any means used to achieve it. I realized that what had happened was not a reflection of workplace relationships in general, but of one person's distorted values. There were Marcus's in the world as well as Jessica's. The key was learning to distinguish between the two, a skill I now possessed at a cost I wished I had not paid. My perspective on professional connections fundamentally changed. I no longer saw trust as something to be given by default, but as something to be built incrementally through consistent actions. This did not make me cynical. It made me discerning. I found that authentic professional relationships based on mutual respect and clear boundaries were far more valuable than the illusory friendship Jessica had offered. The betrayal that once nearly broke me became the foundation for building the strongest version of myself I had ever known. In losing what I thought was a valuable connection, I found something more important: the ability to stand firmly for my own value, regardless of who recognized it. I no longer confuse workplace proximity with friendship, but I have found something more valuable: authentic professional relationships built on mutual respect rather than convenience. The betrayal that once broke me became the foundation for the strongest version of myself I have ever known. What painful lesson reshaped your understanding of trust in your life? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life lessons. Remember, sometimes the deepest betrayals lead to the most important growth. Thanks for listening, and may you find the strength to stand up for yourself when it matters most.